Welcome, gamers, to this A Link to the Past randomizer match between Mormasil and Swagalicious as part of the Go Mode Podcast Mentor Tournament 2024. My name is DDR Kirby. I have been trying to pick out a few of these bracket matches that have been happening in the 2024 Mentor Tournament and highlight them to kind of showcase some of the stuff that's been going on in these bracket matches, in case you were not able to catch them live. This here is the first game in a best-of-3 series between Mormasil and Swagalicious. Mormasil being the number 3 seed in the Gold Sword bracket, that is the top bracket of 16 players in the 2024 Mentor Tournament, and Swagalicious being the 14th seed in the same bracket. I believe Mormasil in the 6 weeks of Swiss rounds went 5-1, and Swagalicious did go 4-2. So Swagalicious will have the lower seed here. Mormasil did go ahead and choose our game mode for today, so we're doing an open seed. That means our runners will get the choice of whether they want to start at Link's house or start at Sanctuary to start off the game. And they're not going to have to necessarily do the Hyrule Castle escape sequence to start things off. Of course, there are advantages and disadvantages to every single opening route. We'll see what these two runners choose. I think we're going to get started in just a second. Hopefully I can sync up these two streams. Do you enjoy watching Link to the Past randomizer, or do you just have been wanting to catch up on more Mentor Tournament matches? Definitely feel free to let me know if there are any particular matches that you'd want to see rebroadcast. So far, I'm just kind of picking and choosing from what seems interesting. I have not seen the... I have not watched this match, so I'm just as in the dark as any of you are in terms of what isn't going to end up happening, so we'll see what our runners decide to do here. Alright, and we are off. And right at the bat, we got some divergence early on. So we got Swagalicious finding the mushroom in Link's house, while Mormasil is going to instead do a Sanctuary start. Now, as I said, there are advantages and disadvantages to both of these starting routes. Mormasil is, of course, going to be able to get over to Kakariko Village earlier, and that is definitely always going to be the #1 priority in terms of the densest check location in the early game. But Swagalicious is going to have a few more chances. Oh, look, and we've got an 8 bomb drop in the tree pole for Tier 1. As I said, Swagalicious is going to have a few more chances to get some resources needed for the early Kakariko Village checks. So when you step into Kakariko Village, you're going to want a little bit of money as well as some bombs. Looks like for this seed, both Mormasil and Swagalicious are going to get hooked up by that Tier 1 tree pole, so they'll have no problems with bombs. So it looks like Swagalicious is going to get 300 rupees here. And Swagalicious is actually going to go ahead and not take a save and quit. Going to go ahead and, I'm presuming, use the full grip of 10 bombs here to go ahead and do the front of Hyrule Castle escape. Now, this is kind of something that definitely takes some practice to execute. You definitely want to have a consistent way of using the bombs to defeat the required guards in front of Castle Escape. It is worth noting that Swagalicious does have access to this blue boomerang that they picked up, so that might make things a little bit easier. You can just stun the guards and then lay bombs next to them, just in case you don't have some handy strats on deck. It does look like they have some sort of setup here. Very nicely done with that first key guard, and 50 rupees right off the bat. Meanwhile, Mormasil is going to find some money in CAC as well as the Ice Rod. So 50 rupees should be enough to get Mormasil the 100 rupees required for Bottle Vendor check. So far, both opening routes kind of playing out pretty nicely for these runners. We'll see if there's any major gains that end up being had on both sides. Mormasil is going to find a glove, and Swagalicious is going to go ahead and make use of that boomerang. And this here is the last key guard that is required to kill. Looks like there is a 2-bomb strat that Spikealicious has prepared. Very nice. Always nice seeing a proper bomb escape done. And knowing how to do this is definitely to your advantage if you decide to start with the Uncle and Secret Passage checks, because normally if you save and quit out of there, you're going to have to take another walk from Link's house to the front of Escape to check these chests at a later time. So by knowing how to do this bomb escape right off the bat, Swaggalicious is cutting out that extra save and quit time. You see Swaggalicious is also making use of a neat strat where you walk to the right side of these pots that triggers the Ball and Chain Guard to start walking towards you earlier, and that way you won't have to walk so far to the right. Unfortunately, just a map over at Zelda's Cell. And one thing that could be relevant here is generally when you do this strat, and when you do bomb escape early on, you are not going to really have any resources to set up for a Death Warp and make it to Dark Cross, or even if you do, it might not be something that you're looking to do so early on. So we'll see. Dark Cross not going to be required to get to the back of Hyrule Castle Escape, because obviously we do have the glove in Kakariko, so both of our runners will be able to make it there. I don't think we saw the key in the front of Escape, so it's possible that Dark Cross could just be a key, and then both of our runners will be able to skip it altogether. We'll still have to see how that ends up working out. Swaggalicious is going to give us a check of the Lumberjack Cave item. This is something that Mormosil did not check, so kind of Mormosil kind of just making a beeline for the most efficient checks, kind of skipping everything on the way. And so you'll see that they are already done with their Kakariko checks, and looks like they came out of it with silver arrows. Not every day that you see silver arrows in Kakariko, just lying there the whole time, as well as a hammer. So our runners will be more than well equipped to deal with any foes that they come across in the near future. Of course, with that bow, the Eastern Palace dungeon becomes full clearable, although it is not in logic. But unfortunately today, it looks like Eastern Palace is a pendant dungeon. We did get a map check over by Mormosil. So that means that Eastern Palace is not necessarily required to beat the game. So Mormosil opting to not go over to Eastern Palace and instead go do the South Shore checks. This makes perfect sense. I know a lot of runners do like to, or at least a handful of runners like to go left from the dam and pair that with Agina. That is a good way to route in Agina. It is an often last located check since it's kind of off in the middle of nowhere in Desert Palace. But it looks like Mormosil is going to take the more kind of conventional or more common route of just going to Mini Moldorm Cave. You know, there are 5 checks here, so this is going to be, again, the most efficient and densest suite of item checks available. Okay, and having those silver arrows or having a bow in general does definitely help out with taking care of these mini Moldorms. Ice Rod is another option, although Mormosil doesn't have any magic to use that at this moment. Alright, and we got a sword as well, so our runners definitely pretty well equipped, already have 6 hearts as well. This is looking like a pretty comfy seed early on. But of course, there's still lots of game to be played. We'll see if this seed has any pitfalls or hoops or challenges to throw at runners later on. So far, kind of everything you want to see early on. You've got a bow, you've got a hammer, a sword, glove. So we're just missing our Moon Pearl to get our runners access to the Dark World. Swaggalicious, of course, going to be finishing off all the Kakariko checks that we've already seen on Mormosil's side. Meanwhile, Mormosil is going to give us the check of Ice Rod Cave. This is definitely an out-of-the-way check, but if you don't check it after Mini Moldorm Cave, it's pretty slow to get back to. And just a red rupee there, and although you could fake Flipper to check the item on Zora or potentially Hobo, it is going to be pretty slow, and our runners are not going to have the Flippers or the Moon Pearl to make the items in Waterfall Cave accessible, so, and they don't even have money for Zora either, so definitely makes sense to save and quit out of Ice Rod Cave. Now Mormosil is going to go ahead and do these checks in Castle Escape. Now again, normally this would be one of the advantages of starting at Sanctuary first, is that you would be able to put off these checks in Hyrule Castle Secret Escape as well as Uncle, and put them off until you can combo them with the Front of Escape. Whereas normally, in most seeds, an Uncle Start does have to save and quit out of here and take another walk to Front of Escape. But as we discussed earlier, Swagalicious was able to just use those bombs and do that wonderful bomb escape sequence, so they kind of got the best of both worlds, really. I imagine Swagalicious is going to go ahead and follow in Mormasil's footsteps here. We'll see if they decide to make the play to Egina, or whether they just choose to go to Mini Moldorm Cave and Ice Rod Cave, just like Mormasil did. Mormasil, of course, is going to be able to get through these rooms just a little bit faster. They do have the Silver Arrows and the Hammer. Hammer is, of course, going to one-shot all of these guards, and the Silver Arrow is going to be able to instantly defeat the Ball and Chain guard guarding Zelda's cell. And you saw Swagalicious had to use 2 pots to kill that guard. So Mormasil is going to be able to gain just a little bit of time, but probably not super significant. If you're enjoying watching our Link to the Past randomizer gameplay here, I would encourage you to give both of these runners a follow on Twitch. I'll try to put their Twitch channel links in the description of this video. Alright, Mormasil just using the sword for that green guard. Imagine they'll use the hammer for this blue one. Yeah, very nice. And Swagalicious did elect to take the same route, so no checks of Egina today, with both of our runners opting to save that for later. Swagalicious doing an interesting strafing strat. I've never actually seen anyone do that. Usually people just walk over to the left and turn upward. But even if you don't have a sword, you can hold the B button and you'll strafe, so you'll still be able to face the same way while walking left and right. Pretty cool strat by Mormasil using the blue boomerang to collect that big key. You don't see that every day because normally you can't, can't collect a lot of keys with the boomerang. You wouldn't think I guess with small keys you kind of would expect it, but you might not necessarily expect that you can collect the big key with the boomerang. But Mormasil showing off some game knowledge there, and Mormasil actually going to give us a little bit of spicy divergence here. They are going to actually take the Death Warp from Zelda's cell and go to Dark Cross. It's actually kind of an interesting play, because Mormasil had the ability to just check the back of Escape first, and since they have the glove, of course, so they could have saved and quit from Ice Rod Cave and done that first. There are 3 chests back there in the back of Escape, and it is possible that Dark Cross could just be a key here, in which case this whole trek was not required. So we'll see if that ends up being the case. I will say it is a few seconds faster to get to Dark Cross from the back of Escape than the front, but that is of course assuming that you can kill the Key Rat in the dark, which might be a little bit hard for these runners as they don't have any light sources and they don't have any great weapons to do that with. Alright, so there is a piece of heart at Dark Cross, so Mormasil's trip was not for nothing, but unfortunately no progression there. I imagine they're just going to go ahead and drop into the back of Escape now. In the meantime, Swagalicious decided not to save and quit from Ice Rod Cave. They are actually going to do a fake flipper glitch to check the item on Bobo, or the camper under the bridge, as some of us more affectionately call him. This is definitely a time investment. It does take quite a while to swim up here and back. It is also out of logic, of course. Normally you need the flippers to come here. Looks like back of Escape just has a heart container and some bombs, so nothing there. So besides Egina and that mushroom turn-in, looks like the only checks in logic that we have left are Zora and Saha and Eastern Palace, of course. So it's looking like most likely our progression is going to be either in Saha's closet or in Eastern Palace. And Mormasil is going to go over there and give us those checks. Swagalicious, in the meantime, going to go ahead and swim over the doors to Zora. Again, not going to be able to check the items in Waterfall Cave here, so this is a little bit less efficient than it would be otherwise if you had access to the flippers or the Rune Pearl. But if this pays off, this could definitely be an early advantage. Looks like just 10 arrows on the ledge, so Swagglish is not going to have to come back for that. In the meantime, we have the Cane of Samaria in Saha's Closet. That is a good item to find, but not going to be relevant until much later on in the seed. Two dungeons that is relevant in Turtle Rock and Misery Mire are both gated by the Mitts, as well as a lot of other items. Alright, so Mormasil going to dive into Pendant Eastern Palace here. It is a full clearable dungeon, although it will be out of the logic without any sort of light source. Nice movement there by Mormasil, getting past that blue guard. I didn't see exactly what was on Zora, but it didn't look like it was anything of value, so Swagglish's fake flipper not quite paying off here. Imagine they're going to do back escape here, and we'll see how they choose to handle Dark Cross. I imagine they're probably going to orphan it here. They don't have a great way, again, of killing the Key Rat and getting to Dark Cross easily. It is possible to do it in the dark, but if you don't know where the Key Rat is, you could definitely be stumbling around there for a while. So if it was in my if I was in his shoes, I probably would just save a quote out of here. But it looks like they are going to go ahead and try it. All right. They do know that there's an item there, and it is faster to get there from the back. I guess they're worried about orphaning it, and plus, they don't exactly have the best options aside from this. You know, if they don't find the progression here, I guess they're heading over to Eastern area, and they would be wanting to commit to, you know, full clear and Pendant Eastern at that point, probably, which is what Mormasil is doing here. Alright, looks like Swagglicious did go ahead and manage to collect that key without too much trouble. Maybe I overestimate how difficult finding that rat is in the dark. I'm just afraid that it'll just run away from me, and then I'll just never be able to find it again. But you know it always starts on the left side, so maybe it's not too bad. Alright, Mormasil showing off some nice strats for that Stealth room. 3 arrows, that is one of the fastest strats available in that room. So very nice. Eastern Palace so far just giving out a piece of heart, and this next chest is actually the only one in logic here. So if we don't get our progression here, it's just a red ruby. Mormasil looks like they're going to keep going, which does make sense. You're already here. Even though these checks are out of logic, you might as well see if you can get anything else out of here. There is only one more item out of Eastern Palace here. Unfortunately, this vanilla big key chest is something that takes quite a while to get to. And the item only has a 50% chance of being here. Meanwhile, Swagglicious looks like we're going to see a mushroom turn in? Now, he doesn't have the flippers, so he's going to have to set up a splash delete here. Oh, he's just walking across. Okay. I was about to be really impressed. You can actually set up a splash delete to swim across there, but it looks like he is just going to walk down instead across the bridge, which is definitely not that slow. Just a few extra transitions. Mormasil going to find the bombs. That is the last item in Eastern Palace. Okay, thinking about continuing, but decides not to. I wholeheartedly agree. You probably don't want to be worrying about just the pendant on Armos Knights at this point. Just 3 bombs over at the Mushroom Turn-In spot, unfortunately, so Swagglicious is probably going to be walking over to the eastern area, I imagine, and Mormasil is going to choose an alternate route of getting to the potion shop, setting up a fake flipper glitch with that screen transition to get in this whirlpool. It's a tricky whirlpool to get into, actually, but now that you're here, you can just swim over and walk up these stairs, and you'll be at the potion shop here. So with everything we've seen, that pretty much means that our progression has to guaranteed be at Agena. I was talking earlier about how Agena is often a last located location because it's kind of out in the middle of nowhere next to Desert Palace, and it looks like that is actually going to be the case here. Now, Mormasil is electing to hold on to that mushroom, so you saw they did a hard reset of their game there instead of saving and quitting. Whereas Swagglicious, they didn't save and quit yet, but I imagine they're probably going to after this dip into Eastern. And the reason Mormasil wanted to keep that mushroom is because they already have the Cane of Samaria in hand, and as well as the hammer. So the next time they get to Kakariko Village, they are going to be able to do a fake powder glitch in order to check the item on Magic Bat. So they're kind of leaving that option open for themselves, especially since they didn't need those 3 bombs that were on at the potion shop. All right, Mormosil going to go ahead and take this little detour to check the item on Desert Palace Ledge. Good info to have in case it's something important, which it is. It is the Magic Mirror. I wonder if we're going to see a book over here on Agena leading to the mirror. Although the mirror would not do anything by itself, actually, because the Death Mountain is still out of logic here. So I wonder what we're going to find here. I wouldn't be surprised if we actually find our Moon Pearl here, which would send our runners off to the Dark World. In which case, the knowledge of that mirror location could be kind of a big deal. We'll see if Swagalicious decides to also check that, but it's the flippers instead. Okay, that is not what I was expecting. So that means our progression has to be at Waterfall Cave, actually, because those are the only flipper checks that have not been seen yet. Swagalicious did, of course, show us the Zora check, as well as the Zora Ledge, as well as Hobo, when they did their fake flipper glitch earlier. That definitely gives Mormosil a little bit of an advantage here, as Swagalicious kind of invested a lot of time doing those checks and is going to have to go ahead and double back. I mean, they're going to be forced to double back there after they get their flippers. Ooh, unfortunately, Swagalicious missing the Arrow Strat in this Stelphos room. Going to have to spend a little bit more time cleaning that up. So Mormosil going to be able to be a little bit more efficient with these flipper checks. And that knowledge of the mirror hanging out on Desert Palace Ledge is also going to definitely be helpful to know. We'll see if Swagalicious decides to continue on. I imagine, yeah, at this point you don't want to leave anything behind, even though this is not in logic. I mean, it is possible. I think Swagalicious at this point, they've done the mushroom turn-in, so I think they kind of know that the progression has to be... have they checked Dark Cross yet? I'm not sure. I don't remember. But I think they... Oh yeah, I think they did. So I think they also know that their progression has to be at Agena. But you know, if Agena is the lamp or fire rod, that puts these checks into logic. Okay, and our lamp is actually sitting next to the Moon Pearl at Waterfall Cave. Interesting. So I expected to see the Moon Pearl for sure, but the lamp also gives us a little bit of mountain access, although it's probably not a priority since all that's available on the mountain now is the Old Man check, as well as the item inside Spec Rock. And you already know in Mormosil's shoes where the mirror is, so you probably want to come back there later. But we'll see where Mormosil decides to take this. I mean, obviously their next step is to go into the Dark World, but we'll see which portal they decide to take. It's kind of always a big decision when you have Dark World access through Hammer and Glove. There are, of course, 2 different portals that you can choose to take to go to the Dark World. There's the one above Kakariko and the one below Link's house, and it looks like they are going to choose the latter. I think this makes a lot of sense, given the item loadout. Mormosil does have the lamp, the bow, silvers at that, and the hammer. So they actually have a fully in logic and full clearable Palace of Darkness. We'll see if that ends up being a crystal dungeon, and it is. So it looks like we have pendants at green pendant at Skullwoods and another pendant at Swamp Palace. So those 2 dungeons are not necessarily required this seed. Alright, there's Swagalicious finding his flippers. Probably not super happy to see that, as they know now that they are going to have to go and make another extra trip over to Waterfall Cave. Alright, there's our first bottle. First 2 bottles, excuse me, as well as some blue mail, and there's the book. Alright, so that gives us access to the mirror hiding out on Desert Ledge. Now, I wasn't paying attention, but I'm not sure if Swagalicious actually went ahead and took a peek at that mirror. I want to say they didn't, actually. Alright, so Swagalicious is going to go ahead and walk over and swim over to Waterfall Cave, where they're going to pick up their lamp and their Moon Pearl. Mormosil, it looks like they're going to check Pyramid Ledge before heading over to Palace of Darkness. like a little bit out of the way, but also kind of on the way, so definitely not a bad play. But if they do decide to go to Palace of Darkness after this, it could leave the Catfish check a little bit isolated, although maybe not the biggest deal because we know they're going to be able to pick up their mirror later on, and so they could combo Catfish with Graveyard Ledge later. Looks like Swagalicious is going to go ahead and make the same play into the portal below Link's house. So they are also going to pick up the items in Hype Cave, and it looks like Wormsil actually just going to go to Catfish here. Interesting. So choosing to stay away from the full clearable crystal in Pod and instead kind of get to Catfish, which, you know, to be fair, is an often isolated check. A lot of people hate this check, actually. And so, you know, going to Pyramid Ledge and Catfish right away kind of ensures that you don't really have any issue getting back there. Well, there's definitely arguments for both ways, right? You could also just argue, okay, I can just do my full clearable crystal at Pod, and then if I want to get to Pyramid Ledge and Catfish, I can do that on a separate trip, right? Kind of just order of operations. We'll see if Swagalicious decides to follow suit or not. They are, of course, just a little bit behind, having last located their Moon Pearl on land a little bit later than Wormsil. Wormsil gonna go ahead and take that blue rupee, and that actually reminds me, the reason Wormsil didn't go to Pod probably was not actually what I was talking about, but instead because they only have 49 rupees. It's actually something I didn't realize until I just thought about it. They don't actually have the money required to get to Pod. Swagalicious, on the other hand, did have 134 rupees, so that was an option available to them, but they decided to go to Stumpy and Dig Game instead. Wormsil looks like they are gonna want to just go over and clear out Desert Palace now instead. That is their other clearable crystal. And they're gonna go ahead and farm some rupees in this hideout here. Definitely some heads-up thinking, as they probably are going to want to go to Palace of Darkness in just a little bit after grabbing the mirror out of Desert Palace and full clearing this, assuming that it's not boots locked, of course. Now, Swagalicious is going to pay the entry fee for the digging game. We'll see if they end up making back their money. Could be definitely relevant, as they might want to go to Pod in the near future, and it looks like they are totally fine on money now. We'll see where they decide to go in the Dark World next. It looks like they are actually going to take the Kakariko portal now. Interesting, still staying away from Palace of Darkness. Oh, but it looks like they picked up a Fire Rod along the way, so that was, I imagine, on Stumpy then? So Fire Rod on Stumpy, that is something that Wormsil did not get because they elected to go up to Pyramid Ledge and Catfish the other way. Of course, I imagine Wormsil will run into that later on, probably after they clear Village of Outcasts and Thieves Town, so not a huge deal, but Swagalicious does now have the option of using that Fire Rod to clear out Skull Woods if they want to. Now, it is a pendant dungeon, but it is the green pendant, so it's a little bit more appealing than usual. Alright, Swagalicious is going to give us our Sick Kid check, and Sick Kid just has the bombs. Now, Swagalicious is not going to be able to do that fake powder glitch that we talked about earlier, as they did turn in their mushroom, so they don't have that on hand anymore. Although even if they had that option, I'm not sure it would be the best idea, as they might be looking at a trip into Skull Woods here, and if they are, you probably want all of your magic on hand. Of course, if you want to do that fake powder glitch, you're going to have to get rid of all of your magic. Alright, Wormsil not really finding too much of note, I believe, over here in Desert Palace. But of course, they are going to pick up their mirror. And it looks like they were not boots locked here, so they are going to be able to also grab their crystal from this dungeon. Alright, Swagalicious looks like they're going to say no to Skull Woods. So I'm just going to go ahead and go to Thieves Town and Village of Outcasts now. And the last check in Desert Palace is just a bunch of money. Swagalicious finding the Titan's Mitts in Village of Outcasts. Okay, very interesting. So, okay, man, that opens up we still don't have access to, on Swagalicious' side, to Dark World Death Mountain, as they are missing the mirror to get up to Hera, and we don't have a hookshot, of course. But I'm kind of liking how this is going to work out for Mormasil, as once they get those mitts, they're going to be able to do all of Smith Chain very efficiently, along with grabbing their Fire Rod from Stumpy. Right, they're going to have access to both the mitts and the mirror, so they're going to be able to be super efficient along that string of checks. And they're also going to have their book in hand, so they're going to be able to check Palma's tablet as well. So kind of everything that you want along that kind of counterclockwise string of checks along the Dark World. So Swagalicious is going to be stepping into Thieves Town. This is a full clearable crystal dungeon, so I imagine they're going to do all of it and get all 4 of the items in this dungeon. I imagine for Swagalicious, their kind of priorities are, of course, they also have a full clearable Desert Palace, which Mormasil is completing right now, as well as Palace of Darkness. So let's see which one of those they choose to prioritize first. I think from where I'm sitting, it probably doesn't matter that much, unless maybe something good is in Palace of Darkness, like, for example, a flute, which would let them fast travel over the desert. Alright, Mormasil setting up for the Lambo fight. 3 silver arrows, unfortunately gets hit by the projectiles. Something that's a little bit tricky about that fight is that when the Land Molus are exploding, the game can't actually properly render all the sprites on screen, so their projectiles, the 4 diagonal projectiles, are actually invisible. It looks like that's Mormasil ran into one of those invisible projectiles, so even though it didn't look like they got hit by anything, the Landmos still spawn the 4 diagonal projectiles when they surface. They just are invisible, and it can be easy to run into those if you're not aware. But Mormasil finishes out that fight no problem. Excellent use of the magic mirror to make walking out of Sanctuary a little bit faster. And so they have some options now. They, of course, can go over and clear out Thieves Town and grab their mitts from Village of Outcasts, which is what it looks like they're doing. They also have the option of going up the mountain and clearing Tower of Hera, as well as Eastside Death Mountain. But this is going to work out great for them, because once they do go to Death Mountain, they are going to have access to the mitts. I think they're also going to have Balmus Medallion. I believe that was somewhere along the way. Swagalicious has it on their end. And so if Turtle Rock actually ends up being opened by the Balmus Medallion, that could get really interesting, because I imagine if Mormasil keeps on continuing along their path and finishing out, finishing out this string of checks with Smith Chain and Stumpy, they're going to have their Fire Rod as well. So that could be a very early full clearable Turtle Rock for Mormasil in a little bit, but we'll see when we get there. Mormasil actually going to go ahead and dip into the front of Skull Woods here, even though they don't have the Fire Rod. But Skull Woods is a pendant dungeon, so we might never have to go to the back anyways, so it's not necessarily a bad play. We'll see if anything good is hiding out here. Okay, nothing so far. So I believe that means it's at most one item that they can find here in the front. They can, of course, go to the middle section. Right, Swagalicious is going to go ahead and start their blind fight. Excellent first phase. This is, of course, a scripted fight, so it can go the same every time if you have it down to a science. Looks like was a little bit late on some of those hits in phase 2, but making great use of that Key of Samaria to, get a first hit even though they weren't standing right there. And finishes the fight without any real problems, manages to save on to that blue bottle, which I'm sure they are pretty happy about. Definitely useful to hang on to those potions for as long as possible. And that is actually crystal number 1 for Swagalicious at the 32-minute mark. Of course, Mormasil already having the crystal from Desert Palace, so our runners are tied up 1-1 as far as crystal count goes. Right now, for Swagalicious, the routing is going to be a little bit more awkward here as they don't have the mirror to be able to do Smith Chain effectively. So this looks like they are going to go ahead and just peek at... oh, they're actually going to go to Skull Woods. Okay. Yeah. They actually have the Fire Rod on hand, so I wonder if they're going to take this all the way into the back of Skull Woods. Meanwhile, Mormasil going to make use of that mirror so that they can check the Animal Lumberjack, which we already saw was nothing. Swagalicious is actually going to rush straight to the back here. So if something is here in the back of Skull Woods or on the Green Pendant turn-in, this could be really big for Swagalicious. This is something that Mormasil is realistically not going to come back for quite some time. You know, they're going to get to their Fire Rod at Stumpy, and you know they've already been to the front of Skull Woods. Unfortunately, they didn't find any items there, so that was kind of a waste of time for them. Didn't pan out. This actually didn't work out how I thought it would, so Mormasil actually choosing to not go into Thieves Town. Again, putting off some of these dungeons, and instead going to go to Graveyard Ledge. It's kind of an interesting mix of strategies, actually. Mormasil chose early on to, you know, take sort of a more straightforward approach and just go for density, but now instead of going to their crystal dungeons and rushing to those, they're choosing to be a little bit more thorough here and kind of check some of these easily orphan checks. You know, Graveyard Ledge and Catfish, along with Catfish, another easily orphaned check. I imagine at this point they are going to go ahead and go back to Village of Outcasts and Thieves Town and kind of pick off where they left off. Okay, Swagalicious, I believe, did they find... I think they didn't find anything of value in that below the bridge chests, which means that Mothula is either going to have an item. Yeah, I think, yeah, especially since, yeah, Mormasil didn't find anything in the front or the middle, so Mothula has to have the last item or the big key. It's actually impossible for any small keys to be locked behind Mothula. It's a bit of interesting key logic about Skull Woods. We'll see how Swagalicious does with this Mothula fight. Mothula, infamous for being a fight which is sometimes very easy and sometimes very hard, just kind of based on how Mothula wants to behave any given day. Of course, Mothula not going to be able to take any damage while overlapping the spikes, but Mothula kind of behaves this time and just gives a pack of 3 bombs. Now, Swagalicious is going to go ahead and take that green pendant as a prize, so we'll see if that ends up being relevant later on. As we said, Mormasil realistically really not going to get that for any time soon, as they are going to pick up their mitts here in Village of Outcasts. Oh, I guess it wasn't in Abominable Shack, I guess it was in Chess Game? So where is Swagalicious going to head now? So they don't have their mirror yet. They're starting here, which means this looks like they... Okay, so that's the mitts from Mormasil. This looks like Swagalicious is actually going up the mountain? Question mark? This is interesting. Swagalicious doesn't have a lot of checks here. They only have the hammer, there's no mirror on their side, so... Ooh, Mormasil showing some nice knowledge, hopping down onto the lower floor. This is a faster route if you lift that pot. It is a little bit faster without the boots, but a lot of runners will autopilot to using the same top side route, even if they don't have the boots, because it is faster with the boots. Yeah, this is surprising from Swagalicious that they have, again, they have a full clearable crystal pod. And there's only 2 checks that they can do up here. Oh, unfortunately, getting blocked by these dead rocks, the worst enemy in the game. One is even in the way of the old man, but of course, old man able to. Oh no! So Spikealicious gonna have to take a saving quit there. I wonder if they're gonna go ahead and follow up on the Spike Rock check? No, okay, they just wanted the old man save point, it looks like. Interesting that they did that as a one-off. I mean, it's not the end of the world because, you know, you have to do that old man check at some point, and you're gonna get that save point, so you can just pick up where you left off later. Where are they off to now? Is this a play into Ice Palace? Okay. Yeah, that's right. Ice Palace is full clearable as well, since they have the Fire Rod and Boundless Medallion. Could be a little bit scary. Hopefully they will have a good grasp of how to use the Boundless Medallion and time a Sword Spin on Cold Stare, so that they can use some leftover magic to do some Fire Rod shots. Otherwise, Cold Stare could be a dangerous fight. You know, Swaggalicious is walking in here with not even full health here. They do have a blue potion in their belt though, so hopefully they'll be okay. This does make a lot of sense. Ice Palace kind of looking suspicious given the items that we have on hand. Let's see, we've already used the flippers to get our Moon Pearl and Lamp, but ooh, and some nice bomb strats. Okay, didn't quite work out, unfortunately, but it was a good idea by Spikealicious. Gonna have to finish these Pengators with the Master Sword spins. And the first chest is just 3 bombs. Wormsil taking a little bit of damage in Thieves Town. Hopefully he can make it to the basement okay. There are some hearts in the basement, so I imagine they'll be fine. Alright, so since Swaggalicious has the Cane of Samaria on hand, they are going to be able to do this Icebreaker rail clip. Looks like they're going to use some sword buffers to get it. And very nicely done. And gets rewarded with the Tempered Sword by diving in here. That is definitely a welcome sight, especially since they're going to be going up against Cold Stare in just a few minutes. Alright, Wormsil to the basement, makes it to the basement safely. Gonna stun or kill some of these enemies just for extra safety. Not a bad idea. And there are, of course, some hearts in these pots. Nice knowledge by Wormsil, and you saw that Wormsil is also using Boomerang to collect these hearts. That might look like it's just kind of facetious, but it actually does serve a purpose. When you use the Boomerang on a heart pickup, there's actually a random chance that you get 2 hearts refilled instead of 1. It happens with both the Boomerang and the Hookshot. It's a very weird and interesting quirk of the game engine. I think I've read at one time an attempted explanation of why that happens, but I could not understand it for the life of me. Alright, so both runners on pretty low health here. Wormsil does have their potion out just in case they need it for this fight. Let's see how they do with their blind script. Oh, unfortunately, Spikealicious forgetting that they do not have the big key and gonna have to take a slightly longer path to the iced tea chest where the big key is hiding out. I do that mistake all the time. It is actually a little bit faster to bomb jump over to the iced tea chest, but... Alright, and Wormsil gonna go ahead and drink that blue potion. They probably had that fight just fine, but better safe than sorry, of course. You really don't want to have to redo that blind fight. Okay, Spikealicious getting their big key. Are they... Did they find all the items already? You can't open the big chest from here as you don't have the hookshot. They don't have a chest counter, so I'm not sure if they found all the items, but if they try to... Okay, this looks like they knew that they already had all the items. Okay, that's good. So perhaps they just didn't know that there was a faster way using the bomb jump to Iced Tea Chest, or maybe they just didn't want to bomb jump because they are quite low on life, actually. Surprised they aren't going to the right over there to pick up extra magic hearts, actually. But they do have a blue potion, so maybe they're feeling confident enough. And going over to the right to get those refills does cost extra time, of course. Right, using Boundless Medallion to melt the outer shell. That's phase 1 of Cold Stare. And it looks like they've already got their potion out. Alright, drinking that for safety. Nice timing. Let's see if they can get this initial spin. They get it a little bit late, but not too bad. Do some nice splash damage with the Fire Rod, and they take down that fight no problem. and a small key on Cold Stare, which does actually mean that Cold Stare was logically locked by Samaria, although that's not really relevant right now. Alright, so Mormosil going to pick up the Smith, and going to be doing Smith Chain here. Kind of like I thought they were. And Swagalicious has the option of a full clearable Desert Palace and a full clearable Palace of Darkness. We're going to want to do both. Looks like they're opting for... Palace of Darkness. Ooh, Mormosil picking up the Ether Medallion at the Hammerpegs check. We'll see if that ends up being relevant for Turtle Rock or Misery Mire. Okay, Swagalicious going to be turning in their green pendant. And it's just some bombs, so that clear. So Skullwoods didn't really have anything for us for either runner. Mormosil setting up for this fake powder glitch. Again, you do have to get rid of all of your magic in order to do this glitch. Try to use the Cane of Samaria, and then you immediately switch to the Mushroom. And we have the other cane, the blue cane. Okay. That will actually allow Mormosil to check out Spike Cave later when they're on the mountain. It is going to be out of logic, of course, since that Magic Bat check was logically locked by the powder. Swagalicious... Okay, I was going to say, they look like they were walking away from Pod, but it looks like they just wanted to avoid triggering aggro on the that orange Murderdactyl. Not a bad idea. Alright, Mormosil going to continue on with this check string. Always feels nice to have both the mitts and the mirror to be able to do Smith Chain all the way while checking Stumpy. See what they end up finding. So we're still, in terms of items that we still need to finish the game, it's really just dependent on the flute for Misery Mire, right? And looks like Mormosil picks up half magic at K45. That's definitely a nice sight. Let's see. So it's just up to... So we just are going to need flute for Misery Mire. There's the Fire Rod that we saw earlier. We need flute for Misery Mire, and we might need Quake, depending on the medallion requirements for Misery Mire and Turtle Rock. And I'm also assuming that we're going to need the hookshot, unless we find the boots and some of these runners are able to hover, which, you know, you'd be surprised at how good these mentees are sometimes. So, not expecting either of these runners to be able to hover. This is a mentor tournament. This is the mentor tournament after all, but I have seen it. In previous mentor tournaments, so I wouldn't put it past them. Mormosil. Huh? Where are you going, Mormosil? This is straight to Ice Palace. Interesting. Electing not to check Bombos Tablet. Okay. I mean, it is true that these crystal dungeons are kind of your #1 priority, and I guess they just wanted to cut off this check chain. And I wonder if that's gonna end up biting them. I guess probably not, because Swagalicious is realistically not gonna be checking Bombos Tablet anytime soon. Like once Swagalicious picks up their mirror from Desert Ledge, they're probably gonna be wanting to head up the mountain, right? So it's probably gonna be quite a while until they do Smith Chain. But if our flute is behind, if our flute is located on Bombos Medallion, that would be a big slip up on Mormosil's side. So hopefully it's not. Hopefully it's just nothing, which probably is, but you never know. Alright, Swagalicious going through Pod. Looks like they were bow locked in Pod. So the first chest was not a small key, it was the shovel, I believe. Mormosil going for the same bomb strat and actually gets it. Manipulates the aggression of the Pengators a little bit better, I guess. we're going to see them, I assume, do the same Cane of Samaria Icebreaker rail clip. Okay, Swagalicious headed to the back of Palace of Darkness. Were they both locked? Okay, I admit I might not have actually been closely watching. Okay, interesting. Mormasil decides to take a different approach to routing Ice Palace. Decides to hit the Crystal Switch instead of leaving it behind. That does cost some extra time, but can make it easier to get to the boss. Okay, so they're gonna find their Tempered Sword, and I think Pengator Chest was also an item. So this actually might work out to Mormasil's favor. Having the switch hit does make the dungeon faster if you happen to run into all of your items early, which I think this layout was. Yeah, so there's the piece of heart as well. So the first 3 chests of Ice Palace actually had the 3 items. I mean, that's not something that Mormasil knew ahead of time, but yeah, this is going to work out really well for them, as they're not going to have to get the big key from Ice-T. So it's hard to say whether you could consider this like gamble or not, but it is definitely going to work out for Mormasil here. You'll see that they'll just be able to drop down here. They don't need the big key to get to Gold Stairs since they hit that Crystal Switch. Looks like Swagalicious intentionally taking some damage here in Pod to set up for a Death Warp. So far, no progression here in Pod. Ooh, misses that bomb, unfortunately. And Mormasil gonna have plenty of magic for this Cold Stair fight, as they have half magic on hand. Let's see if they successfully get this initial sword spin. That's kind of like the real key to having this fight go smoothly. Do they have the right timing? Looks like they do. And now it's just about spamming Fire Rod and staying a little bit safe. Right, and they take down Cold Stair very quickly. So Mormasil definitely gaining some time, just based on the fact that the dungeon key layout really worked out for their strategy. And meanwhile, Swagalicious going to go ahead and go back to Helmasaur to go pick up that crystal. Interesting, Mormasil making use of an often not used route going from Ice Palace to Palace of Darkness. I don't remember the last time I've seen this routing actually, so that's really good heads up thinking by Mormasil. You have to imagine that this is faster than an extra saving quit to Link's house. So great awareness. You know, often you're gonna end up clearing Palace of Darkness way before Ice Palace in most seeds, so this isn't something that you get to make use of every day. Alright, so Swagalicious into the Turtles room. Very nice 2-hammer strategy for that, and kills all the turtles without having any of them flip over. Very nicely executed. And Mormasil now with more than enough money to pay for Kiki's fee to open up Palace of Darkness. Alright, so Swagalicious into their Helmasaur fight. Going to be holding the sword out in front of them. That does make the hammer hitbox a little bit easier to work with. Just walk up to Helmasaur, and every time the sword kind of tinks on Helmasaur's mask, you just use the hammer immediately afterward. And very nicely done. I like the fact that they shot the silver arrow into Helmasaur's orb for releasing their sword spin slash. Just a little bit of extra optimization. You know, usually you'll see runners just let go of the B button immediately and execute their, their charged sword slash, even though they don't actually need it to damage Helmasaur, and then wait for that to finish before using your silver arrow. So really good play by Swagalicious, that extra optimization, saving a few frames there. Okay, so it looks like so it looks like Palace of Darkness was not actually no locked. So there was a key in the shooter room, and I guess the shovel that we found here was just in one of these two upcoming chests, I believe. Alright, so Swagalicious is going to go ahead and walk out of this pod maze here. I imagine they're going to make their way over to Pyramid Ledge and Catfish. Of course, we've already seen both of those checks on Mormasil's side, so nothing new here. I imagine Swagalicious is going to go ahead and... You gotta head to Desert Palace after this, right? I mean... Yeah, they don't have a lot of other options, so they are gonna get funneled there, shortly. And they're gonna be able to pick up their mirror, which is gonna kind of open things up for them. And after all is said and done, I guess both runners are probably gonna meet each other up on the mountain, it looks like. Swagalicious still has to clear Desert Palace, but Mormasil still has to finish clearing Pod, so I feel like since Swagalicious has to also walk to Catfish, Mormasil's probably going to be a little bit ahead of Swagalicious. So I guess the real question is that Berna, Kain and Berna, or more importantly, is the Ether Medallion going to come into play here? Because that was on Hammered Pegs for Mormasil. And I think after grabbing the mirror from Desert Ledge, I don't think as Swagalicious you go and prioritize something like Smith Chain. I think at that point it makes more sense to just go up the mountain. Alright, so Swagalicious, I'm assuming is... Oh? Not gonna go to Desert. This looks like... They're starting at Sanctuary. They've already been up to the mountain though, right? Is this going into the Kakariko portal? Uh-oh. This is bad. They're not gonna be able... they have to make it to Desert Palace to get their crystal and their mirror. That mirror is really the key to everything, I think. Mormasil having a little bit more trouble with these turtles than Swagalicious did, but still cleans it up. So it looks like Swagalicious, I'm assuming, is going after Mirrorless Smith Chain here. Which is a real shame, because if they just go to their full Clerical Desert Palace, they could grab their mirror and the string of checks would be a lot better for them. Unless there's something else that they left behind that I'm not remembering. Alright, Mormasil into the Helmasaur fight with some nice techno music. Alright, so having a little bit more trouble with phase 2 of Helmasaur. I mean, not really trouble, but, you know, taking a little bit longer. Swagalicious was definitely super on top of that with the Silver Arrow. Looks like Mormasil was trying to find a way to quick swap to Silver as fast, but the quick swapping between Hammer and Bow is pretty awkward, so opted to just finish the fight with slashes and spins. Oh, Swagalicious hasn't done this. That's right, neither runner, I think, has done this shovel check, because the shovel was in pod. It's just a heart container, though. Right, it looks like Mormasil... Oh, Mormasil took the strategy... I missed it, but Mormasil looks like took the strategy of doing the boss first, and is now going to finish the checks in the back. Definitely a valid approach to rounding pod. Right, so Swagalicious going to turn in the Smith here. Interestingly enough, they did not elect to... you often see a lot of runners pick the Smith and then go into the Hammer Pegs check and save and quit from there. But they did not elect to do that, which means they are missing their Ether Medallion still. So after this, we'll see if they elect to continue on with Mirrorless Smith Chain, or whether they decide to finally go to Desert Palace. Either way is kind of okay for them at this point. Like, obviously, Desert Palace is a priority because, I mean, they don't know it, but their mirror is there, but also it's a clearable crystal. But if that Ether Medallion is important, they will be glad they did this. Meanwhile, Mormosil is actually going to get to... they aren't going to have to mirror here, they're just going to be able to save and quit straight out of this, so they're going to be able to save just a little bit of time. Yeah, so they didn't even have to check the big chest. Not a huge time save, but it was something, right? That's one of the advantages you get of doing Helmasaur first before going to the back. It looks like they are going to follow up on this shovel check, but I imagine they've got to go up the mountain after this, right? This is probably the last thing that you clean up. I mean, they've still got Bombus Tablet left unaccounted for, but I think at this point you have to leave that behind. Alright, Swaglish is gonna go and grab their Ether Medallion. And Mormosil starting at Sanctuary. It looks like they are finally headed up the mountain. Swaglish is gonna go and finish this off with the purple chest. Unfortunately, this is just a lot more inefficient. I wonder if their plan was to do this... I guess their plan was probably to do this, and since the purple chest is right next to the Desert Palace, kind of more efficient that way, which makes a lot of sense. The problem is that the mirror was on Desert Ledge, and of course they don't know that. Because they didn't, and it's all because they didn't scout the Desert Ledge in the beginning of the game when they were on their way to Agena. I wonder if they're going to be kicking themselves for that decision. Because having to do the walk over to Kakariko and take the portal, you know, an extra time, that definitely costs more time, I think, than picking up the mirror first from here, especially without boots on hand. And there it is. Swaglish just seeing that mirror. It was here the whole time. So I wonder how they're feeling about their position here, seeing that mirror, and knowing that Desert has been full clearable for quite some time, and knowing that they just committed to doing that long string of Smith chain checks without the mirror, knowing that their opponent could have routed things differently and gotten that before them. You know, Swagalicious also lost some time early on with that fake flipper check, the fake flipper to Zora and Hobo, which didn't pan out, and they ended up having to swim back there with the real flippers on hand for the Moon Pearl and Lamp in Waterfall Cave. So we're seeing that time difference, you know, those two time losses kind of add up here. Alright, so Mormosil going to start things off with Ether Tablet check, and it's the Quake Medallion, so all three medallions on hand now, which means Mormosil guaranteed has a full clearable Turtle Rock. Oh, unfortunately that dead rock sitting right in the middle of that path. Mormosil's going to try to scroll it off the screen. Very nice kind of backup strat. Alright, so Mormosil into Tower of Hera now. So this is a required dungeon. We'll see if we get the big key in this next chest here. If we do not, then logically the basement is going to be required in order to proceed. Looks like Mormosil has the mirror out. Okay, but it is going to continue here. So they are just going to commit to doing the basement here. It makes sense, you know, you want to clear this dungeon for sure. I will say another option for them would have been to delay Hera, because it is possible that the, you know, if you do all the checks on the right side of Death Mountain, it is possible that your hookshot is waiting for you there, and then you would be able to skip this, you know, this kind of lengthy waiting for these tiles by doing a Herapod glitch to clip into the fountain on the first floor. Now, of course, there's no guarantee that the hookshot is over on the right side of Death Mountain, but I think you know, the strongest argument for that is that Mormosil might want to come back to the left side of the mountain for the check on Spike Cave, which of course they do have the Blue Cane, the Cane of Burna, to check in logic. Although it's actually, no, it's actually out of logic because that blue cane was from the fake powder glitch, right? So it's actually out of logic, but nevertheless, they still might want to check it, right? Let's see, other than, so let's see, we haven't seen Bombos Talent from either runner. Obviously, Swagalicious didn't have the opportunity because they just picked up their mirror, and Warmasil decided to abandon that. So that's something that could be a sticky issue. But other than that, everything that's remaining is on the mountain. So our answer has to be here, somewhere. Alright, looks like it's not in Tower of Hera, as that is the remaining item. So it's either here on the mountain or I guess Pyramid Fairy. Ooh, Warmasil goes for that bumper skip. It's kind of a little bit of a tight pixel window, but unfortunately misses it. We'll see if they go for it again. Okay, just electing to keep it safe this time. Laying some bombs next to that bumper, probably a sign of frustration. You know, laying bombs doesn't cost you any movement, so probably not that big of a deal. If we were still playing on slow ROM, it might actually lose you time to do that because bombs can cause extra lag, but we play on fast ROM nowadays, so it's probably not a big deal. Alright, Warmasil getting their, looks like 5th crystal in Tower of Hera, and Swagalicious is going to follow suit. But as you can see, they are a couple minutes behind. Just some of the routing not swinging in Swagalicious' favor. We'll see if they decide to commit to clearing Hera immediately, or whether they decide to take the approach that I suggested as an alternative, and you know, waiting for a possible hookshot. Alright, Warmasil gonna check Floating Island, and it's just a red rupee. There are a few different ways to route each side of the mountain. Some people like to, I believe, one of the fastest routes is to just check Paradox Cave and then take the Turtle Rock portal and then check everything from there. I do know some people like to take the portal on the lower section of Death Mountain on the right here, and then use it to mirror right outside of Paradox Cave. So we'll see what approach Warmasil decides to take here. Looks like they have the mirror out, which means they are going to go ahead and use this upper entrance into Paradox Cave, use the mirror to delete this block. One of the easiest glitches to do in this game, you just have to spam the mirror button as you're pushing a block. Of course, you really shouldn't try it when you're in a dungeon, because that is not going to work out well. But in these caves, it will cause the block to be deleted. It looks like Swagalicious is not going to wait for a hookshot here, just going to go ahead and clear this dungeon, just like Warmasil did. And so yeah, I'm definitely liking Warmasil's position here. Unless we get down to, like, last locating items here, they're kind of just firmly ahead of Swagalicious. I talk about, you know, getting down to last locating items because, you know, Warmasil does have some checks that they haven't done. You know, Swagalicious did go ahead and finish the back of Skull Woods, whereas Warmasil still has those 2 items remaining as well as the green pendant. So if we get down to a situation where we're looking for, like, the flute in, like, you know, some gross locations like Left Side Swamp, Warmasil could elect to do Skull Woods before that, so I think if you're rooting for Swagalicious to win here, you kind of want this seed to get nasty. Alright, looks like Quake Medallion is going to be the access into Turtle Rock. So, I mean, both of our runners have all 3 medallions, so not really going to be an issue. But that Quake Medallion was the one that we found here on the mountain on Aether Tablet. Oh no, Swagalicious failing that bomb jump and gonna have to fall 2 floors here. definitely a risky bomb jump to go for if you're not confident in it. Right, nice of using the mirror to reset those crystal switches, yeah. I wonder if Swagalicious is gonna elect to skip that bomb jump this time or go for it again. You know, if it's something that you normally get very confidently, I would recommend, yeah, just shake it off, go for it again. But if you are not confident with this one, it's definitely very punishing, as you can see, to miss it. Alright, nothing checkable in Hookshot Cave. We don't have the boots or the hookshot. But Mormosil, interestingly enough, stepped away to Super Bunny Cave before diving into Turtle Rock. I think it would be a little bit more efficient to just full clear Turtle Rock first. Because, you know, it's definitely possible that your hookshot is in here, and then you could walk left and check a Super Bunny Cave and Hookshot Cave on the way to Spike Cave. So that might be a little bit more efficient, but we'll see. Of course, Mormosil doesn't have the hookshot on hand, so gonna have to do this Torches puzzle the kind of intended way. Right, Swagalicious up against Moldorm. I'm gonna need 1 slash and 1 spin to take Moldorm out, and excellent fight. This finishes that very quickly. Alright, Mormosil making use of that mirror. This is the fastest way to route the first few checks in Turtle Rock. You do the Fire Rod like side first, and then mirror back to the front in order to check the compass chest left here. Narrowly avoids touching that that berry. Okay, usually the real payoff, the real payout in Turtle Rock is at the end of the dungeon, because there are of course 4 chests at Laser Bridge, so usually that's where the goodies are. We'll see what is over there. Swagalicious, I think, did not actually, I think did a little bit of an optimization here, did not check the item on Floating Island, if I saw that correctly. And I believe that is because if they take the same route that Mormosil did, they know that they're going to be walking by that on the way between Paradox Cave and Turtle Rock Portal. So nice little minor optimization from Swagalicious, if that's actually what happened there. It's also possible they could have just forgotten. We'll see. But they did do the right thing so far. Hopefully they don't forget to check it later on. Although, as we know, it's just a red rupee, so even if they don't, it's not a big deal. Alright. Mormosil continuing on in Turtle Rock. Has to get the key from this Pokey here. Who unfortunately gets a poke there, so normally a double hit from a Tempered Sword spin will kill that enemy, but if you has to be a little bit careful here, and you might want to drink a potion. Yeah, that's not to take a death here. So if you accidentally poke that enemy instead of releasing your Sword Slash, you will only do Master Sword damage for the first hit, instead of you know, Gold Sword damage with your spin, and that will kind of throw off the enemy's HP, you know, regression. So instead of getting the nice 2-hit kill, you end up having to chase it down. A lot of people will just kind of take the coward's way out and use a Fire Rod on that Pokey to avoid that, you know, avoid that possibility, but. Alright, has to deal with 2 more Pokies here. Hopefully they won't get any more pokes here. Alright, wisely choosing to face the other way, but unfortunately gets hit by that shooter and finishes it off with just the Fire Rod. Alright, Swagalicious taking the Turtle Rock Portal. We'll see if they decide to also check Super Bunny Cave first, but I think my vote is to just dive into TR. But no, it looks like they are also of the same mind and gonna go check Super Bunny Cave first. Ooh, and the boots are Mimic Cave. Both of our runners will be very glad to finally have that on their hands. Although it's a little bit late into the seed, they're only going to be able to use that for the last, the last half of Turtle Rock as well as Misery Mire. So really not that much action for the boots today, unfortunately. But I'm sure they'll be glad to have it all the same, especially in Ganon's Tower. Plus, we still don't know where that flute is to give us access to Misery Mire. And we're presumably still looking for a hookshot as well. Not sure if either of these runners is capable of hovering across the Moldorm 2 gap in Ganon's Tower, but interestingly enough, the boots will also give us access to the single chest in Hookshot Cave. It looks like both of our runners probably going to be doing a double dip into Hookshot Cave. Hopefully Swagalicious will also remember that they don't have the hookshot, and they do. Alright. Alright, Worm's already putting those boots to good work, and they do have Half Magic and the Cane of Burna to make Laser Bridge relatively trivial. There is that hookshot. So no hovering for these runners today, even if they can. It is worth noting that Swagalicious does not have that Cane of Burna, as that was gained by Mormosil via the fake powder glitch. So we'll see if Swagalicious does okay getting those chests on Laser Bridge. That is a trick that is expected to be in logic by the randomizer. You are able to collect those 4 chests safely, even without the Mirror Shield or any invincibility items, but it can be relatively tricky to do so if you're not used to it, so let's see how Swagalicious handles that later on. For now, Wormsil is into this Trinex fight. It's going to be 5 Tempered Slashes per head. Very nicely, quick swapping to the other rod before landing the killing blow, as you cannot quick swap while the first head is exploding. Is going to try and set up for a Spin Slash here. Of course, for Phase 2 in Trinex, the head is actually vulnerable in the first few moments. Takes a few hits there, but finishes off the fight quickly enough. And looks like the last item in TR is just 10 arrows. So armed with that hookshot and boots, we've got a couple of options here. Of course, we've got Hookshot Cave, which I imagine is almost assuredly Mormosil's next stop. We'll see if they elect to go over to... Oh, very nice hook speed. We'll see if they elect to go over to Spike Cave, as that is kind of the only check remaining on the mountain. So I think if you want to go do that check, you have to do it now. It's also not the fastest check, so if you're feeling the pressure, you want to try and save some time, that is a check that you can go ahead and skip. But you're probably not going to come back for quite some time if you're doing that. Okay, it looks like they are going to go ahead and continue on to Spike Cave. Not a bad idea here. But aside from Spike Cave, we have Pyramid Fairy, which just opened up, as well as Swamp Palace, which is full clearable. And we also have 2 Boots checks, so that would be King's Tomb and Bonk Rocks. Oh, Swagalicious is kind of getting really unlucky there. Normally when you Fire Rod the Pokey, its body projectiles will also get burned, but sometimes the Fire Rod splash damage doesn't reach them, and they can bounce around, and Swagalicious unfortunately took 2 hits from that. Okay, just a blue rupee at Spike Cave. We'll see if Swagalicious decides to also check that. Alright, so this looks like we're starting off with the boots checks, which makes a lot of sense. They are kind of the quickest, set of 2 checks that you can do from here. But I imagine after this we're going to see a play into Swamp Palace. Now the real question for Mormosil is what order to do these checks in. There's arguments for kind of all orders. Bombo's Tablet has been kind of left out for a while, so Mormosil might be worried about that, and if your flute is sitting on Bombo's Tablet, you don't want to have to full clear all of Swamp Palace before, grabbing that, right? That would feel kind of silly. On the other hand, you might figure that doing Swamp Palace into Bombos Tablet is a little bit more efficient than the other way around. Okay, Momosil almost forgets where they're going for a second, but takes back to Mop Rocks. And then there's Pyramid Fairy. And it kind of makes sense to do Pyramid Fairy after Swamp Palace, because you can just route Swamp Palace up into, up into the Bomb Shop. It looks like Mormosil is taking none of those options and is instead following up on Skull Woods. This is not what I expected at all. I mean, maybe they're feeling suspicious because we had the early Fire Rod. Fire Rod was on Stumpy. Of course, it took them a while to get to it, but it was available much earlier on. Right, so Swagalicious going through Laser Bridge now. Has plenty of hearts to spare, so doesn't have to be too careful here. Nice use of that Samaria block to deal with that Hardhead Beetle. It tanks a hit there, but again, they've got plenty of life to spare, so probably no issue here. Very nice dash there. But as I was saying, this is a little bit unexpected by Mormosil. Wait, is this they just mirrored... Was that an accident? Oh, this is a pet check. Interesting. Or this is an attempted pet check. Can't quite seem to get the mirror alignment correctly. I think if you just stand in the middle of the... Oh no, this has got to be really frustrating. I think if you stand in the middle of that, skeleton, the portal will just appear in the middle of the log, but it looks like they finally get it. This is pretty interesting. I mean... So I guess the advantage of this is that if you know that it's on Ped, you get a big advantage, right? Because you just, I don't even know if it's that big advantage, right? Like, even if you know that Fluted's on Ped, you would do Moth, and in Swamp Palace, you're kind of rushing to the back anyway, so you'd only be able to skip a couple of chests, really, in Swamp Palace. But I guess if you are here anyways, yeah, I just kind of don't understand, especially checking Ped before getting the 2 items in the back of Skull Woods. I feel like you might as well, just grab those 2 items and the pendant before mirroring and checking Ped. Because if it is on Ped, you have to beat Mothman anyways. You're not really saving any time by checking Ped first, right? The only time you're saving is by not having to check this bridge chest. So, interesting decision there. What I'm really more surprised about is why Mormosil decided to follow up on this Fire Rod rather than the hook shot that we just got. Because in my shoes, I would have imagined, I mean, of course I'm looking at this with, perfect vision of both runners, but I would have imagined that the natural play was the Swamp Palace. I mean, there's 6 items there. Swagalicious actually gonna make up a good chunk of time here because they elected to skip Spike Cave, which as we know is nothing. And they're gonna do the roots checks, and remember they've already gotten both items as well as the green pendant out of Skull Woods, so they're actually gonna really creep back up on Mormosil. I wonder if they're gonna actually end up ahead after all this. Yeah, because they're just gonna do their 2 boots checks, and then I think they're gonna be off the swamp. This is really not how I expected things to turn out. And I was talking about how Skull Woods, being outstanding for Mormosil could turn out to be a factor, but I didn't expect it to be so soon. The other thing about this is that, yeah, sure, you get a green pendant out of this, but isn't that kind of awkward to turn in? You've already finished Pod and Eastern? Are you thinking about turning that in right now, Mormosil? Or are you gonna bail and do Swamp? This is a really tough call now. Like, you've kind of invested into the green pendant, but okay, I guess they're just gonna cut it off there. Which means Swagalicious is gonna have a little bit of a head start into Swamp Palace. Oh! Wait, but they didn't check K45. That's right, because they didn't have a mirror on the way. Okay, so Mormosil is actually going to be the first one in the swamp, unless... Okay, now it becomes really important. And it looks like, okay, it looks like they're going to check Bombos Tablet first. Neither runner has checked this. I think this makes sense from Mormasil's side. I mean, there is an argument to saying like, okay, maybe my opponent hasn't really checked this, and if it's here, I lose. But you can see obviously that's not the case. If it is here, then you're feeling really good about it. Also, the more that you can clear before going into Swamp, kind of the better, because you're one from go here, and in that situation, you almost assuredly, like, Prevailing Wisdom says that you should just rush the back of the Swamp and only do left side Swamp if you have to. But if you do that, you're kind of committing to doing left side Swamp, and you still have some other checks on the table, which Mormasil is going to show us first, actually. So Mormasil electing to stay out of Swamp and doing Pyramid Fairy first instead. This might seem crazy, but I actually kind of like it. There are a lot of checks in Swamp Palace, but like I said, you get to put off the decision on left side Swamp. And believe it or not, the checks in, like, the 2 checks in Pyramid Fairy are actually more efficient in terms of, like, time per check than the checks in Swamp Palace. Swagalicious gonna go ahead and do the same thing, actually. So both of our runners are really close in this race. Mormasil is just gonna be a little bit ahead. Looks like they are going to set their bomb at the 43-second mark. 23:43. We'll see. It looks like Swagalicious is about a minute behind. Okay, it's not. A Pyramid Fairy. Swagalicious. Oh man, every little second counts here. Okay, nice dash by Swagalicious. I believe Mormasil was also doing those dashes. Let's see if they get a dash in this screen. Oh no, no dash, no hookshot either. Every second really counts here. I mean, they don't know it, but they're really... Right, so they set their bomb at 24:17. So it looks like they're like 30 seconds behind in that case. Wait, Mormasil's turning in the green pendant! Oh no! I mean... I guess this makes sense too, this is pretty fast, but... Oh, this is Swagalicious' chance to catch up. Interesting that Swagalicious chose to save and quit there. I would have imagined that dashing back down would be... Well, actually I don't know. That's something I would have to time out. I'm not sure whether it's faster to dash back down from Pyramid Fairy or to take this portal again. Oh my gosh, both runners on this literally same screen. They're just trading the lead back and forth with each decision. Alright, so Swagalicious is going to be the first one into Swamp. They're going to mirror at the 25:10-second mark, and Swagalicious is going to mirror at the 25:15-second mark. They're literally 5 seconds between each other. It's really just going to come down to execution at this point. I mean, nothing is relevant in Mire. It has to be here in Swamp. We don't have any fetch quests unaccounted for either. Except, I guess, neither... I think Mormasil scouted Bobber Cave Ledge? Probably? Because they mirrored to check, they mirrored to check Bobber Cave. Or, they mirrored to check Lumberjack, so I imagine they've seen whatever's on there. But I don't think it was a flute. Or if it was, then I've been missing it the whole time. But either way, even if that's the case, they need to find the cape here. Oh, it's really just down to execution here. Alright, Mormasil doing a dash instead of a hookshot there. That is actually slightly faster, but, you know, we're just talking frames here. I imagine both of these runners have to be about to plan the same route, right? You have to rush it back here. There's no way you do left side Swamp first. Unless you're feeling really behind. Right, both runners getting a successful Specky clip. Good to see. Ooh, Mormasil going for that little hookshot clip. Misses it. Yeah, this is really just down to who can execute these dungeons more cleanly. Okay, nice hookshot by Swagalicious. Finds the big key. Okay. You like seeing that. Nice hookshot to the big chest. There is a compass there, which means there is at least one item on the left side of Swamp Palace here. Mormasil is gonna go left side? Oh, this is This is a gamble. Okay, well this pays off. Mormosil is gonna be... Oh, it doesn't pay off! The flute's there! Oh no, this is really bad for Mormosil. If he had just kept going, like you normally would, he would have had the flute. And now Swagalicious is ahead, is firmly in the lead. Gonna go activate that flute and gonna hightail it to Meyer. Mormosil's probably gonna be kicking himself once he sees that flute over there. I mean, don't get me wrong, this is the most efficient way to full clear Swamp Palace, but when you're one item from Go mode, I think you gotta just rush the back first. I wonder if Mormosil made this decision because they were feeling pressured to make a big play. Okay, finds a hard container. And 300 rupees, so they found 2 items there, but unfortunately not what they're looking for. Ooh, that's tough. Alright, so Swagalicious pulling firmly ahead in here. Gonna be heading into Meyer. Well, I'm still gonna have some ground to make up here. There is still a chance for Meyer routing to come into play here. I know different people have different ways of routing this dungeon. Alright, well, I'm still going for a bomb setup for Diver Down. Oh my gosh, every second you spend doing this really hurts. Get this line up. Okay, that looks good. Okay, they're doing the spin slash setup. Okay, nice. And get out of there. Yeah. Okay. Nice fast save and quit. Yeah, they've just gotta go. Okay, mirrors. That is actually slightly slower than dashing out of Sanctuary, but whatever is fastest at this point for you to think about. Alright, let's see what the key layout is in Meyer. Okay, first chest is just a small key. So, man, this has been a wild sequence of events. And there's that powder. It puts burn into logic, okay. So, you know, early on in the seed, Swagalicious made some calls that didn't pay out. You know, with the early fake flipper, and yeah, but finishing out like the back of Skull Woods and like turning in that green pendant, but you know, Mormosil ended up going back for Skull Woods before getting into Swamp, and then when they went into Swamp, chose to go do left side on the first time through. And in the later part of the seed, Swagalicious decided to, you know, make some of the right calls. Decided to skip Spike Cave. And went to the back of Swamp, which is, you know, the usual route, but yeah, good on them. Okay, they find their big key, which means it's about, not necessarily the fastest route to the big key. I mean, they took a detour to check the lobby chest, but about as good as you can ask for in this case. We're still having a little bit of trouble with Meyer too. Cleans it up okay. I wasn't paying attention to whether either runner has set up the spooky action glitch. We'll see if Swagalicious tries to go for that setup here. Okay, looks like they did not even attempt it, so they are not going to have access to spooky glitch. So they're going to potentially lose a little bit of time here if Mormosil does know how to do that trick. So Swagalicious just going to have to do this room the vanilla way. Just going to have to hit the crystal switch from here. You know, Spooky Glitch, not a super major time save, but it does save, you know, this room transition here as well as waiting for this bomb, so it can be relevant. Okay, Mormosil only at 3 hearts. likely to skip that small key for now, which should be fine, I think. They have one small key from the chest, and they're gonna get their big key here. Yeah, so I think it should be fine, yeah. Okay, nice usage of magic powder there. And Swagalicious is into the Vitreous fight. Armed with silver arrows, so this should be a pretty trivial Vitreous fight. Not gonna get the zero cycle, but should finish it up pretty quickly. Positioning themselves right in front of Vitreous, trying to get the fastest one possible. It looks like Mormasil's route through Mire actually was a little bit faster. I think they, if I was paying attention correctly, they did not check the lobby chest, so they're going to make up a little bit of time there. Let's see if they know how to do this spooky action glitch. That'll help lessen this gap here. Okay, looks like they did not go for it either. Okay, so both runners even on that front. And so Swagalicious fluting to the mountain. Okay, nice hook speed. Oh, they're even going for this. Oh, almost very nicely executed, but unfortunately that dead rock getting in the way there. Wait, Mormasil's going for the backup spooky? Oh, very nicely done. I didn't even realize. Okay, that I guess they set that up by throwing this Mario block into the pit. That's some great knowledge. I guess they didn't know the setup for the third room, but that's totally fine. That one doesn't always work anyways. It's like that. It only works on certain pixels. But that is actually surprising. I don't know many people who go for that backup strat for Spooky Glitch, so props to Mormasil. Let's see if they can get the zero cycle on Vitreous. And looks like they do. Okay, so making up a few seconds here and there, actually. I don't know if it's going to be enough. This might actually just come down to GT routing. But at this point, yeah, Swagalicious is pretty firmly ahead, so I think it would have to be like a GT routing difference and then execution to make it up. Okay, well, I'm still going to choose to save and quit instead of mirroring and fluting. I don't actually know which one's faster. Could probably time that out sometime. Okay, Swagalicious is going to go right here. Mormasil not going for the hook speed setup there, just opts to play it safe. Okay, Swagalicious finds just rupees, so gonna be forced to mirror even if that wasn't their initial plan. Mormasil gonna go ahead and take the bottom portal here. This is only slightly slower than the Turtle Rock portal, and it's definitely much safer against dead rocks. And Swagalicious finds the big key on the torch, but is gonna keep going? Oh yeah, they need a key, of course. Alright, Swagalicious is good to climb. At this point, it's kind of their game to lose. Mormasil can potentially make up, you know, some 30 seconds-ish, you know, 20, maybe 20 seconds if they choose to go left straight off the bat, but, ooh, interesting, like, interesting boots dust kick-up strat by Swagalicious. Never seen that one before. Kind of tapping A repeatedly to stay in place while still being able to manipulate the mimics. Interesting idea. Alright, Swagalicious continuing on their climb. They made it through the first two mimics without any real problems. I mean, having silvers definitely helps. Ooh, very nice hook speed sword climb by Mormasil. I love to see that. And they are going right as well. Okay, so they're gonna be getting their big key in about the same amount of time. Okay, Swagalicious having their Fire Rod out. I know Half Magic makes it so that you can kind of make free use of your Fire Rod here, and it is very helpful against these Stalfos, as you can see here. Sometimes when you go for the sword slash strats, they just keep on jumping out of the way if you're not adept at it. So if you've got Half Magic, definitely something you want to do here. Alright, Mormasil just needs to like grab this key and mirror as fast as they can. Swagalicious missing the Fire Rod splash damage on that last Stalfos, unfortunately. Does clean it up. Gonna use the powder to get a fair here. Are they going for the smartest strat? Okay. Okay, misses it. I have no idea how to do that strat. But it's like whack. Okay, but gets the nice swag 2-cycle. Love to see it. Oh, I'm still having... Okay, only takes 1 hit there in Mimics 2. Looks like that room didn't go quite according to plan, but didn't lose too much time either. Ooh, very nice spike room by Mormasil. Very clean dash. Swagalicious unfortunately misses the 1-cycle there on the Wizrogues. Mormasil using the easy fall down strat. Okay. Alright, Swagalicious is into Torches 1. A little bit of trouble with movement means, yeah, they're gonna have to take a hit there. It should be fine, they still have plenty of hearts to spare. And they shouldn't need the magic in this next room either. Yeah, so they're just gonna go ahead. They are gonna need to pick up the small key from the mini Helmsaur in the next room. Oops, had their shot blocked by that spark. Alright, Mormasil continuing on their climb as well. Swagalicious checking the chests. Oh, this room is not going too well for them. That Helmsaur is really stubborn. Wonder if they're going to use the powder in the next room, probably to get some more health? I imagine so, right? Yeah. Oh no, Mormasil misses the silver lineup on Lamlo 2. Oh, this is really bad. You kind of get like one real shot to like line up a nice silver skill on Lambo 2, and if you miss it, it kind of just gets a little messy. Okay, Swagalicious going into the final rooms before Aga 2. Ooh, interesting strat there. Oh, almost gets it. I think I found a strat that looked somewhat similar to that. That was slightly faster than the most commonly used one, but it wasn't 100% consistent. Oh, unfortunately, Mormasil gets knocked around, gets bad RNG on that bridge. Both our runners putting together a pretty nice climb, despite my, minor quips and minor, issues with like RNG and luck. As expected of runners in the gold bracket here. Ooh, Swagalicious narrowly missing that double there. Oh no! Oh no, and misses an entire cycle worth of fireballs. Can't be feeling good about that. Uh-oh. Oh no, I wonder if nerves are kind of settling in for Swagalicious. This Aga 2 fight is kind of falling apart. Okay. Keep it together, Swagalicious. Mormasil is quickly gaining just based on this Aga 2 fight. Come on, Swagalicious, you've got to do this. Alright. That fight alone kind of opened... Oh no, but Mormasil falls on Moldorm too! Alright, Swagalicious should still have this. It's gonna come down again, and Swagalicious just needs to keep it cool and not fall. Mormasil can definitely make up some time here on Aga 2. Alright, let's see what kind of Ganon fight we're in for. Okay, going for the double spin here. Misses it though. Samaria strats with Tempered Sword? Okay. Okay, misses the 1-cycle, but I've never seen anyone go for Samaria strats with Tempered Sword. That's pretty sick. Alright, Mormasil already looking like they are having a better time with Aga 2 here. Swagalicious into phase 3 though. Very nice Aga 2 fight by Mormasil, finishing that off very confidently. But is it too little too late? Swagalicious already 1 hit away from phase 4. Assuming they don't go for something too dangerous and risky here, If they stay calm, they've got this. Okay, going for Torch Glitch. Alright, gets it. Just needs 4 silver arrows to end this fight. Mormasil is hot on the chase. Okay, Mormasil misses one of the first slashes, misses the double spin as well, and gets an awkward Ganon warp. And Swagalicious takes down Ganon at 142.44. What a close race. Nice use of the Cane of Burna by Mormasil. Yeah, but you've got half magic, you've got plenty of resources, might as well use them. Any second counts here. And Swagalicious is going to be the winner here with a final time of 143.07. Mormasil not far behind at all. Going to be on to phase 4 momentarily here. Okay, not going to bother for the Torch Glitch. It is a little bit more optimal not to do it if you can set up for your silvers correctly. Does actually manage to get in anyways. Oh, fires the arrow the wrong way. Oh, and a nice double to finish out the fight. Yeah, Mormasil really made it very close there. Gained a lot of time on Aga 2. And honestly had a cleaner, a nicer phase 4 with Ganon 2, but it just wasn't enough. Just a minute away from Swagalicious. I feel like any number of things could have swung that race in the other direction. If Mormasil had chosen to... I mean, it really all just came down to that left side swamp play, right? I mean, there were a million other things as well, but I think that's really what it came down to. I mean, Mormasil could have also not dipped into Swamp Palace before Skull Woods, but yeah, crazy. They were definitely trading the lead back and forth for a while there as well. It was crazy how many little things Mormasil was able to catch up on in terms of like slightly better Mire routing, better Aga 2 fight, just little things here and there, but it unfortunately wasn't enough. But GG's, really great effort and racing by both of these runners. Again, if you enjoyed watching that race, definitely give both of these runners a follow. And you might want to check out Game 2 of this series, which has actually already happened. I will not spoil the results here, but that has already happened. So if you feel like you're invested in this best of 3 series, definitely catch Game 2 and or Game 3. Again, I won't spoil the result of who won. I actually don't even know myself. That is going to do it for this race rewatch / commentary. Again, my name is DDR Kirby, and I'm going to be trying to do a handful of these. Obviously, I won't be able to cover the entire bracket as there are a ton of races happening, so definitely feel free to catch the ones that I don't rebroadcast as well. But thank you for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed this commentary, and I will see you next time.